Have you ever had one of those moments where you knew, absolutely knew, that speaking up might ruin everything? Not just something small, but your entire reputation, your peace, your work, your image. The kind of stand that could cost you your whole identity? That's exactly what Johnny Depp faced. He had to make a choice: stay quiet and let the world believe a version of the story that wasn't true, or speak up, even if it meant losing everything along the way. Now let's paint the picture. Johnny Depp wasn't just any celebrity. He was the face of some of the biggest films in Hollywood history. Think Pirates of the Caribbean, Edward Scissorhands, Fantastic Beasts. His face was on posters, lunchboxes, and theme park rides. Millions of fans adored him, and movie studios saw him as a guaranteed box office hit. But in just a few short years, all of that started slipping away. And not because of bad acting, or failed films. Not because of a scandal involving money or business. Nope. It was something deeply personal. It was what happened behind closed doors, what started as a divorce, and what spiraled into one of the most talked about celebrity legal battles ever. The divorce between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard didn't just stay in court documents or gossip columns. It exploded. It dominated every media platform. Social media timelines, YouTube thumbnails, headlines, talk shows, it was everywhere. And like most viral stories, people didn't wait for facts. They picked sides. They formed opinions. And more often than not, Johnny wasn't on the winning end of those early judgments. The noise was so loud, his voice, his side, got completely drowned out. Imagine that. Imagine having your entire identity twisted in front of millions, and barely being able to defend yourself. For most people, that kind of public scrutiny would be unbearable. For Johnny, it was. But it also lit a fire in him. A fire to push back. Not out of anger. Not out of pride. But out of sheer emotional survival. And here's the part that might really make you pause: despite the lawsuits, the press frenzy, the court appearances, the tens of millions in legal fees, he says he would do it all again. Without hesitation. Think about that. Most of us would never want to relive something so painful. But for Johnny, the cost of staying silent was heavier than the cost of speaking up. Let's dig into what that cost actually looked like. First, we're talking about years of legal battles. Multiple lawsuits. Public court appearances. Endless prep meetings with attorneys, PR firms, and advisors. All of that takes serious money. It's estimated he spent somewhere around $5 to $10 million, just on legal defense alone. Now, take a breath, because that's not even the half of it. During this time, Johnny also lost out on massive movie deals. Disney, a company that once built an entire franchise around him, pulled him from Pirates of the Caribbean. And let's be real. Captain Jack Sparrow was that franchise. He was set to earn another $20, maybe even $30 million from future projects. Just gone. Other studios distanced themselves too. Even though no trial had ended. No judgment had been made. Just the accusations were enough to send him into professional exile. And here's what a lot of people don't consider: those weren't just roles. Those were years of work. Years of connection, trust, and artistry, all erased because people believed a version of a story they hadn't fully heard. The damage wasn't just financial. It was personal. It was emotional. It was spiritual. Because when someone tells the world you're a monster, and the world listens, something inside you breaks. And for a long time, Johnny stayed silent. Maybe hoping the storm would pass. Maybe hoping that his years of work, his reputation, his humanity would speak louder than a few headlines. But it didn't. So eventually, he made the choice to fight. Not to win in the classic sense. Not to get a check or settle a score. But just to finally breathe again. Just to have the space to say, this is who I really am. This is what really happened. And for him, that was worth everything. Now here's where things get even more intense. Filing a defamation case isn't like suing someone over a broken contract or unpaid rent. You can't just say, they lied. You have to prove that the lie was intentional. That the person knew it was false. That they meant to hurt you with it. That it wasn't just a miscommunication, but something calculated. It's a tough case to win, even with solid evidence. But Johnny's legal team came prepared. They gathered recordings. Built timelines. Lined up witness testimonies. Highlighted contradictions. They didn't just come to win, they came to show the truth, piece by piece. They also made a powerful choice, to let the public see the raw, unfiltered side of the story. Because for so long, everything people heard was one-sided. And here's something interesting, honesty, even when it's messy, has a way of connecting with people. We all make mistakes. We all have complicated relationships. So when Johnny admitted to not being perfect, but said, here's what I really lived through, it felt real. It hit a nerve. A human nerve. In one interview, he said something that stopped people in their tracks. He said, I didn't do it for revenge. I did it because I couldn't breathe under the weight of the lies anymore. Think about that line. That's not about money. That's not about image. That's about the invisible weight that follows you when your name becomes a lie. When you can't go anywhere without someone looking at you and thinking something that's not true. Sometimes, the real courtroom isn't in a courthouse, it's in your own mind. It's in your heart. And winning there. That's the hardest trial of all. Most of us will never face that level of public scrutiny. We won't have to spend millions defending our names. But the feeling, that crushing feeling of being misunderstood, of being unfairly judged, that's something nearly everyone goes through at some point. And that's why Johnny's story matters. Because it reminds us how important it is to stand up, even when it feels like everyone's sitting down. But let's not sugarcoat it. Fighting like this isn't just brave. It's exhausting. A legal battle like this takes more than money. It eats away at your energy, your sleep, your focus, your friendships. Every day becomes a cycle of reliving trauma, reading old texts, watching videos, remembering arguments, explaining yourself over and over and over. You don't just wake up wondering how the case is going. You wake up wondering what people think about you. What strangers are saying. What rumor is trending next. Johnny went through that for years. And yet, he kept going. He didn't disappear. He didn't lash out publicly. He stayed focused. He worked with his team. He made appearances. He walked into courtrooms knowing cameras were watching his every move. And slowly, something started to shift. The world began to listen. People started to say, wait, maybe we rushed to judgment. They started revisiting the facts. Watching the trial. Hearing the contradictions. And just like that, the narrative began to balance. Johnny's image didn't magically restore itself overnight. It wasn't just one interview or one tweet. It was a slow, strategic rebuild. His team knew they had to manage more than court filings. They had to manage perception. So they did. Through social media. Through how he dressed. Through who he spoke to. Through the truth he was finally allowed to share. And eventually, it worked. People started seeing Johnny again. Not the scandal. Not the clickbait. But him. And when he finally spoke in interviews, not with anger, but with emotion. You could feel how much he'd been holding in. How long he had waited to just speak freely. No fear. No PR filters. Just raw, human emotion. And here's what's wild. Even after losing millions, even after years of being dragged, Even after nearly losing his career and peace, when asked if he'd do it all again? Johnny said yes. Because for him, the truth is worth that price. Every time. It's a bold thing to say. But maybe it's also the most honest. Sometimes, standing up for yourself won't bring applause. It won't bring a check. It won't even bring justice in the way you hoped. But it will bring clarity. Peace. Relief. It'll help you sleep again. And in a world that's constantly judging, labeling, and twisting stories, that kind of peace is priceless. So maybe his story isn't just about Hollywood, or fame, or headlines. Maybe it's about all of us. Because if you've ever been silenced, misunderstood, or misrepresented, you know what it feels like to want to scream your truth into a world that's already decided not to listen. You don't need millions to stand tall. You don't need a courtroom. You just need your voice. And the guts to keep using it. Johnny's story shows us that yes, it's scary. Yes, it costs something. But it's also freeing. Because in the end, standing up for yourself doesn't just clear your name, it reminds you who you really are. So let me ask you again. If you were in Johnny Depp's shoes, would you have done the same? Would you risk it all just to say, "This is my truth"? Think about it. And let me know what you'd do. Drop your answer in the comments. This is a conversation we need to have. And if this story made you pause, made you think, or made you feel a little stronger, don't forget to like the video. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Hit subscribe for more real, human stories like this. And click the bell so you never miss one. Truth isn't always easy. But it's always worth telling. Catch you in the next one.